Testing, test, test, test.
Okay, what is that?
That's you. That's a self-portrait.
Oh my god, that is creepy. It looks like a mannequin.
You want? Test, test, sound. Say something, Sly.
Huh?
Yeah.
I hear the sound.
Okay. Everything sounds good on their end, you think? Yeah, maybe?
Yep, yep.
Good, good, good. Unfortunately, I don't have control of ads because I'm not partnered. Okay, wow. Got about 2 minutes here. No, Tro, I don't get any monies. I'm not partnered in any way. They're actually getting money off of it. They do, not me.
Is Halcyon like doing something or something?
I don't know. He's not here. In about a minute, we're gonna have to sub out.
It says he's in a 1v1 ladder match right now. Busy.
Seriously?
Yeah, I have him added on Real ID and it says he's quick match 1v1.
Alright, we're just trying to get some things squared away here. Okay, he's here. Just gotta get our guy in there. He's apparently working on 56k, so
Shows that he's still looking at score screen. So he might be AFK. Alright, he's in.
alright.
One of you guys want spectator referee? Or the referee choice?
You can just make me spectator, don't matter. Or I mean, I'll stay spectator. It doesn't really matter too much. Just IRO if you can. Make sure none of our players are in raid call.
I'm watching.
The ones competing at the time.
Yep. I have them in a separate room.
Okay, good.
Well, it looks like they're both ready.
Think so. We're about to get the show on the road.
Okay, there we go.
Yep, it's gonna be a ZVZ.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are underway. Finally, after a little bit of a delay here, both of our players getting ready. This is actually Team Evolution's third clan war, and this time it is against IGE. Hopefully we can, for Team Evolution, secure ourselves another victory, but, I guess we'll just have to see. Our first match is going to be on WCS Daybreak. It's going to be a ZVZ. Our first competitor's Evo Halcyon going out. Actually haven't seen his play. He's Diamond level Zerg. And BLV for Team IGE is going to be their first competitor. So ZVZ on this matchup, a lot of bases to take. I'm expecting a pretty lengthy game if Fling Bane doesn't, turn out to be just making it a quick 8-minute game. But casting alongside me is our very own Sly or Slifical. Tell us about yourself, Sly.
I'm just basically a casual gamer platinum Zerg in Team Evolution, and I've actually done a clan war for us, and yeah.
You there? You drop out? Still here?
Oh, my bad.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Sly did compete in our latest clan war. I believe it was a gold platinum clan war.
Yeah.
This time we got ourselves a nice solid diamond clan war, so hopefully we'll see some good matches here. Already the game is underway rather. And you know, generally in ZVZ, a lot of the game and the matches can come down to what happens within the first 6 minutes of the game. If one of the Zerg takes an earlier gas than the other, if one pool first, or if one does a 15 hatch first. And it's pretty much going to be dictated about those things. 10 pool, 6 pool, 7 pool, 8 pool, all that weird early cheeses can be potentially game breaking if unscouted or not reacted to properly. But, hopefully we'll see a decent game as opposed to just some quick sort of cheesy game. What are your thoughts on that, Sly?
Well, usually when I play ZVZ, they usually go for really fast pulls, so I hope that this actually becomes a macro game, because macro game basically sees who can counter what based on their tech, supply, army-wise, but, it doesn't look like anything cheesy's happening yet.
Right, we are coming up close to that 14 pull timing, so we'll see probably either going to see a gas first or a 15 hatch. But ZVZ, I've said it before, it can actually be one of the more diverse matchups. There's so much you can do in ZVZ. You can decide to do early pressure, you can decide not to, and just do like a very heavy macro game, turtle up with spines, that kind of thing. And as you mentioned, it is going to be based around tech, tech timings and who can counter whose tech better and more effectively, like, create any sort of innovative plays. Like if we see a Nidus war in this game, I've actually seen some quite effective Nidus play on different like pro level streams and stuff like that. And it's kind of gimmicky, but then again, just gimmicky plays like that can actually go to take some games. But already for BLV here, we do have a 15 pool verse and a 15 hatch, and finally being met. Halcyon over here gonna be dropping his hatch slightly later at about a 16 pool or 16 hatch rather timing. Yeah. But no gases just yet.
Well, hey, Adonis, just want to throw in a... I apologize there. Just throwing a side note for you, Adonis, just a message from somebody. Make sure you don't stay on one tab the whole time for the income wise. Just show everything up. Thank you.
Gotcha. Now, you about to say something, Sly?
It seems like we're not seeing any gas, so that might mean that we might be seeing some macro game coming along. And I think I saw BLV actually pop out some early scoutlings, I think. So he might be able to see whether or not Halcyon might be doing something cheesy, but overall it seems pretty standard for now.
Absolutely. With these Zerglings out, oh no, he's actually going to be met my Halcyon Zerglings, getting in there, doing a little bit of DPS. Now he's actually doing exactly what he needs to be doing. He's using those lings to scout. That's of utmost importance. But none of these Zergs have actually taken their gas just yet, and that is actually a very huge thing. Like, they didn't scout each other's gas timings until just now. Halcyon's still playing in the dark, not realizing his opponent doesn't have a gas either. And this is actually very strange. I haven't really seen ZVZs in a while, actually, with no gas timings. And, this is actually going to... It's like it doesn't have a choice but to go into the macro game, because there is going to be no speed for a very long time. There is going to be no Bane's Nest. BLV dropping down a spine, pumping out those queens. Actually, he has 3 queens on the field. Halcyon working on getting his 3rd queen as well. And, I mean, there's no real aggressive options here because of that lack of gas.
Well, it looks like Halcyon actually took down his first gas right about now, so he might have an early gas tech on something. Well, actually, BLV's taking double gas now, so he's going to be ahead in gas, and he might be going for either roaches soon. Yeah, he did drop a roach warren, so he's playing a bit defensive while trying to go offensive with that spine crawler and a lot of queens, trying to get that creep spread.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with this double gas right here, if we look at the income tab, he's falling behind, slightly in minerals with that double gas. It's kind of a good timing, because he's not going to be able to produce roaches or anything like that anyways, but he'll have them readily available. But you are absolutely correct that he is playing slightly more defensive. He does have that spine. Halcyon opting not to take that spine, which is kind of giving him a slight drone advantage at this time, 37 to 35, and that may go a long way. And we do finally have a second gas coming down for Halcyon, and that's I don't disagree with this at all. I think it's perfect gas timing. He's doing a very good job at balancing his income and with his minerals and gas. But we have a layer coming down around 7 minutes for BLV over here, and that's going to be slightly faster than Halcyon's, who has actually yet to start his. Scouting Overlord coming in here for Halcyon, and he's not going to see too much. He's only going to see things at the front door, which he actually could have done with a poke with the Lings. And in response, or not in response, but we also do have double spine and Roach Warren Evo Chamber on the way for Halcyon.
We do see a third base coming out for BLV, and he might be actually going really macro heavy right now, but it doesn't look like he's making any tech with that layer rather than just upgrades. But we might be seeing hopefully some infestors or hydras coming out, because then those really do a lot of damage in ZVZ. And yeah, it looks like his third did get scouted by a scouting Ling, and it seems like Halcyon's about to engage to try to deny that Ling with Ling run. Deny that third with Ling run bys.
Absolutely, and he actually managed, the Red Zerg actually managed to skip speed in favor of more roaches. This third is going to be getting denied unless he can actually save it. He may get there in time, but it looks like he is going to have to force a cancel. Yes, the cancel does go down. And, this should be a good timing for Halcyon to kind of realize, okay, he's trying to take his third. I should be safe to take mine, and that's exactly what we're going to see. +1 range coming for the Roaches. So it's going to be a Roach-on-Roach game, but the layer for Halcyon is so far behind compared to his opponent BLV here. And BLV is going to have a gas advantage when it comes to Roach-on-Roach because he decided not to get that early 100 gas for speed. Speed for Roaches is going to be done within the next 5 seconds here. And we also have some Ling run-by potential. From Halcyon. Depends on how on top of his map awareness BLV is, and it looks like it's just that. We're staying on top of things, keeping an eye on that watchtower as well. Creep doing very well, or BLV rather, doing very well, keeping an eye on his creep vision there.
Well, it does look like we see a infestation pit dropping for both of our players, but it seems like BLV might have the advantage of possibly getting that pathogen gland upgrade earlier. And we also do see +2 upgrades coming for his roaches, so that might give him a big advantage when it does come to Roach-on-Roach fights with +1 actually start coming halfway done right now.
We did just have a little engagement here. Halcyon was behind in the upgrades and continues to be, will be for another 30. Nope. +1 actually just finished for Halcyon. So he should be just fine. His reinforcement point is much closer, but this is a very aggressive attack coming from BLV here. And what he doesn't want to do is focus down that hatchery. He just needs to get out of there, salvage those units, because, it's potential. He actually has potential to actually lose those units, and that would put him very far behind. But he kind of feels like he needs to get something done here because he invested so much larva into those roaches. If you look at the harvester count, he is he's managing to drone up behind it. So he's being aggressive, playing sort of like an aggro Zerg style and droning up behind it to kind of, solidify a lead here. Hopefully Halcyon recognizes that that's what's going on and responds properly according to that sort of info. But as you mentioned, we do have an infestation pit down for BLV. Pathogen gland's not yet started, and completely opposite here, Halcyon is ahead of pathogen glands. If he just starts that at the right time, he'll actually be ahead. Infestors will be out much sooner. They'll have more time to bank energy, and I think he'll have quite an advantage just with that fact alone. But he is behind in harvester count, so we'll just have to see, positioning and sort of playstyle, how it comes into effect here later on.
It does look like BLV is actually pumping out 6 infestors coming out and almost finishing +2 spine attacks, missile attacks, but he doesn't have his pathogen glands upgraded or yet started, so he might be not enough energy to throw down those fungals, while it looks like Halcyon does have his pathogen glands finished with a lot of tech going up and throwing down a couple of spines for the defensive play, with Burrow actually started, or actually almost finished. So if he does land those fungals with his infestors, his roach might actually be able to overcome BLV's roaches.
Now this is actually very interesting here. We have BLV who opted for more infestors. He didn't quite make his infestors timed out well with the upgrade, but you know, he has the 5 infestors out on the field, and that's actually going to be quite huge. He made those infestors prematurely, and you know, if Halcyon timed his correctly, it's going to be a huge advantage for him when it comes down to an engagement. He's going to have more fungals, more infested Terrans, and it's just going to be completely one-sided with the amount of AoE that's going to be coming out of those infestors with full energy, or more energy, as we can see here, 84 to about 60 energy. Oh, fungals going down, and these roaches, they're in the concave, but you know, you don't need to step forward. More fungals coming in here, and you know, with those infested Terrans, or with those infestors rather, they have just enough energy. He waited just in time, and additional fungals going down here. But this is kind of crucial. He has a lot of room for counterattack because he actually got dropped. He opted for less infestors, more tech. He has drop on these OVs. He can do roundabout attacks with small numbers of roaches and just sort of split BLV up. And after this engagement, we see the supply is 159 to 135. BLV opting to bring in the Hydralisk, but not a good move. He overextended with them. They're too slow. He's not going to be able to save them. And he may even just get cleaned up. Oh no, the Creep Spread actually assisted in the escape for the Hydras. I've never seen that in my 7,000 games as a Zerg player where a Hydralisk escapes. And that roundabout attack looks like it's going to be relatively soon here. What are your thoughts on this? You think this is going to work?
Well, he doesn't really have his main actually scouted on the right side with his creep, so he might not be able to see those Overlord drops, but he is getting his lair tech. Hopefully it doesn't get sniped down, because if it does, he might actually lose a lot.
Oh, and this hive is getting focused. Oh, and the hive does go down. Finally a response from BLV here, but that is actually very devastating. Infestation pit going down. No more infestors are going to be coming out onto the field here. And he is losing quite the number of roaches. He needs to get them into those overlords and just get out of there. But they are actually going to get sniped down by these Hydras and the infestors. Now BLV here, he has a serious timing window where he needs to do some sort of counterattack, because losing that hive is going to put him substantially behind in tier 3 tech. And you see he's forced to make a layer at his natural, try and replace that hive as soon as possible. Halcyon didn't quite capitalize too well. I would have liked to seen a 4th out of him.
Actually, he took down his 4th base from BLV with infested Terrans while he was actually doing that drop on BLV. So he did deny a 4th expansion coming from BLV, but it looks like there's going to be a counterattack coming right about now towards his possibly 4th gonna get denied.
Absolutely, yeah. I did actually miss that. That was good multitasking. The 4th will be denied from Halcyon, but is he going to hold this engagement? It's going to be very crucial. He does have infestors over there near his 3rd. As long as he just manages it correctly, he can keep those roaches out long enough to do a proper response. Infestors leading the way. They might get sniped. Fungal going down. And more infestors coming out with more fungals, and it looks like he's going to be able to slow it down, but does he have roaches on the way? Is he going to lose this 3rd? Roaches finally popping, but it won't be enough. They're not long for this world. More infestors joining the fray for Halcyon. Needs to control these a little better. Roaches finally reinforcing, but they're coming up in scattered numbers. He's not going to be able to fight when he's all scattered like this. Spines being realigned, losing infestors left and right, and a GG from Halcyon. IGE takes game 1. Well, there goes our first game of the night. IGE 1-0 as of right now against Team Evo. Now, about that ZVZ matchup, next in line we're going to be sending out a Terran, Fap Lord. And, basically on that map, it could have turned out to be a macro game. I expected to see sort of, actually a slightly longer one, 4 or 5 base, Roach Hydra back and forth, or Mutiling Bane, things like that. But both of these players opted for that Halcyon doing Roach Infestor with drops, and all harass all around the board. and BLV became victorious, you know, emerging with that Roach, Hydra, Infestor army, and decent map awareness. So we'll have to see if our Terran player can take a game off him in the next round. What are your thoughts on that match?
I thought it would have been a lot better if he could just get in there, snipe that hive, snipe that infestation.
Yeah, that was a huge pickup.
Drop, get out right away without losing too many of those roaches. Then he might have had a good comeback. But then again, I also did see him have some infestors actually burrowed under his third spine crawlers, which he didn't actually use in that engagement, which could have possibly helped him with those earlier fungals.
Right, and you know, it's like he hit that perfect timing that he didn't have a choice. He lost his hive. He was going to be devastatingly behind at that tier 3 mark, and you know, he did exactly what he needed to, and he went on to take the game. So, you know, Halcyon doing a brilliant job of just splitting it up, taking out the 4th base, taking out the hive, and doing a roundabout and trying to, you know, pressure the 3rd to just keep him, you know, keep BLV in his base rather, until you know, he was able to macro up and deal with that army. But with those fungals catching those overlords, him catching that army, that was just so decisive and so cost efficient. How it turned out that way. Now we're moving on to game 2 here, setting it up. It's going to be a TVZ. Now, TVZ on Ohana, you know, particularly I don't think Ohana is a very good map for Zerg anyways, but it just seems like, you know, a lot of narrow choke points. It seems like, you know, Terran would have the upper hand, but there's no real statistics to kind of prove that. So I think it's, you know, on this map, it should be fairly balanced. What do you think, TVZ on Ohana?
I actually think Terran might actually have a good chance against this because there is lots of possible places to have drops come by with Marines, and that could be really painful, especially for his 3rd and his main, going back and forth unless he breaks those rocks from his natural. So if he doesn't hold off early drops or any possible harass prong, then he might be in big trouble as a Zerg.
Right, I completely agree. Especially when it comes to like mutaplay, it's kind of easy to shut down mutaplay because there's not too much fly around space when it comes to hitting the main and hitting the 3rd and things like that. When it gets to about a 4th and a 5th, it's easier to harass, but by that time, mutas can kind of phase out of the game. Their proper counters being out on the field, Thors, Marines, Vikings, things like that. And now, so I'm actually expecting to see some sort of infestor play. Now on the Terran side, depending on you know, how this is gonna go, I've actually seen Faplord play a few TVZs, and I don't want to reveal too much just yet, but he's been trying a new style for himself. So we'll just have to see if he's adapted it correctly and if it works properly for him. But we are on game 2 on Ohana. Once again, this is a TVZ between Faplord and BLV, the Zerg representing IGE, and you know, we've already given our thoughts. Macro game or cheese game, we'll just have to wait and see. And once again, I feel like gas timers are going to come into play. Going to pretty much show what there is. BLZ playing BLZ playing a solid ZVZ in the last game. We'll have to see how well he does in his ZVT, if he's able to hold off the infamous aggression of Faplord here.
Yeah, from what I usually see from Faplord, he likes to open 2 racks aggression early on, and if BLV doesn't actually hold that off fairly well with his micro, he might actually lose within possibly the first 8 minutes, but we'll have to see if he does go for that choice of early aggression.
Right, BLV did opt for that 15, he did a 15 pool, 15 hatch last game, did he not? Showing some sort of, like, I guess extra security with that build. A lot of Zergs would like to go 15 hatch in a ZVZ, but you know, the other ones determined to sort of be extra safe against any sort of cheese do offer that 15 hatch. So we'll kind of have to see how if he decides to do that same build against a ZVT and also a delayed gas.
So we do see Faplord actually going for his really quick SCV scout, I think. Yeah, and he doesn't really see much. Well, he is actually about to see a 15 hatch come down. So he might actually go for early aggression, but oh, he actually blocks it off.
Yeah, and this is just so annoying for Zerg players because, you know, they're not taking that if they want to go 15 hatch, and we do have a proper response from BLV, finally, you know, dropping that pool, not much of a choice. And this is where it gets sketchy. Some players would take the double gas, but BLV here is going to be taking like a third hatch in that third area, and generally when doing sort of blocks like this, you know, Faplord, he's playing sort of like, you know, I guess you would say to the weaknesses of the Zerg, but you're sort of like putting him in a position. I feel like this is a positional advantage right here. He's forcing it to where that third goes up, you know, as far out from the main as possible, so he can do some sort of slight pressure later on. It all just seems like it's positional play.
Yeah, and if he does decide to deny his third with bunkers, it's going to be really hard for BLV to actually come back, since his third is far away, especially with those rocks blocking. But it looks like he's doing a 1 racks fast expand.
Yeah, very common. Basically standard meta. No gas just yet. Gonna be pumping out that Marine. He needs to find a good spot for his bunker placement. And speaking of bunkers, Faplord down here at the third, putting the bunker behind the mineral line, right outside the view of BLV. But BLV is going to be scouting around. He does see it, and he's going to focus down. He needs to, exactly, he needs to cancel that bunker and just get out of there. Get these Marines back home. No sense in losing those to just a handful of lings. And with a handful, we do have 4 more on the field for BLV. So, you know, there's not really much more aggression that can come out of this 1 rack CC. He needs to get a bunker up, though. Those 6 lings can be absolutely menacing if they get, you know, anywhere near those low numbers of Marines. So finally getting that bunker down. CC on the way, taking a double gas. And, you know, finally we got a gas. Earlier gas than most normal Zergs. I say normal, but earlier gas than most Zergs in general. And so that's going to kind of signify maybe a Banebuster. Earlier Roaches, maybe he's a little unsure about Hellions or anything like that. Finally these lings coming in here, picking off 1 Marine, but the bunker is finished just in time. Supply depot going up, and these lings are going to be going down. And that is actually a huge pickup for Faplord over here. The Zerg is not going to have any sort of, you know, watchtower unless he devotes more larvae to lings. No map control, no vision of anything. Overlord's out of position for anything in the center. And, you know, that's actually a huge pickup for Faplord here.
So we do see a Roach Warren dropping down, but it doesn't look like his bases are very saturated, and I don't think 1 gas could actually supply that many Roach Warrens unless he plans to take a second one. And Ling speed is coming up soon, but it looks like he's just droning up a bit for now.
Absolutely, droning pretty hard actually. It's 20 to 27 harvesters as of right now. And I think, yeah, there's some lack of SCV macro coming out of Faplord, and this can actually go a long way into putting him at an economic disadvantage, as we see now. Still 22 to 26. And, you know, the third base is up and running. It's saturated, but the natural isn't quite saturated yet for the Zerg. Second gas on the way, as you mentioned. He's going to be saturating that right away. Now, he did kind of miss his layer timing, but as we can see, this is why it is going to be a Roachling all-in. Lots of Roaches, lots of Lings on the way to Faplord's base here. And I don't know if Hellions and 3 Marines are going to be able to clean this up. He is going to see it at this watchtower. What do you think the proper response to this would be? What should Faplord do if he wants to stay in this game?
Well, I'd say he'd probably need well, very well positioning with Hellions and possibly some Marauders coming out to take care of those roaches. It does seem like he is putting down a lot of bunkers for a lot of defensive play right now, since Terran is specialized in turtling up.
Absolutely, and he's gonna hit just before. This bunker is gonna go down. He's not gonna get that repair, and you know, all these SCVs, he's gonna force a lift. All the SCVs going down. Bunker's not gonna finish, and he has nothing at home. But a Banshee is on the way with Cloak, but it might not be fast enough. He doesn't have anything in the bunker. Lone Marine on the way to the bunker against like 9 roaches and 15 lings. GG from Faplord, and IGE takes game number 2, making the final score 2-0 right now in favor of IGE. I gotta tell you, man, 3 base all in. I don't know. Both players were kind of playing in the dark. I guess it's okay that the Zerg was playing in the dark, being that you know, he was doing an all in anyways, and there's not much you can do as Zerg once you decide you're gonna all in, unless you do significant damage. I don't know, that positional play in the beginning, do you think that really hurt his chances of you know, what he was trying to accomplish? It seemed like he was trying to force a positional play, but it didn't really seem to work too well against an all-in.
I think he actually tried to do more of a macro advantage over the Zergs, knowing that if he does keep up a second base with that Zerg, he could actually out macro him. But it would have been a lot better if he did have that Roach Warren actually scouted and just pump out a Banshee and do some early Hellion Cloak Banshee harass against this Zerg.
Right. I feel that if he may have delayed other tech, like off that one Rax, it seemed like he dropped a few more Racks. Maybe if he delayed it a little longer and opted for that faster Banshee, but I think primarily it comes down to that scout. He didn't get the scout off on that Roach Warrant, so you know, he didn't quite have any sort of idea that it was coming, and I think that's what ultimately led to his defeat. But we're moving on to game 3 here, and hopefully Evo has a player. We're actually sending out Oz Bazarius, who was at one point in his time a random player. So hopefully we'll see. Hopefully he has the potential to beat this Zerg player, else we're going to be getting all killed by BLV over here. That would be embarrassing.
Just give me a second.
Alright. Now, I expect us to see like another TVZ coming up. The map choice is going to be very interesting. If there's a lot of cliffs or something like that, you know, Terran can actually abuse those quite heavily, especially doing like tank drops and things like that, sitting on low corners and low ledges and shooting up into hitting extractors, really annoying things like that. And you know, on the flip side, Zerg Butte harass infested Terran burrow. Okay, so the map's going to be in Tomb Valley. Now, this is kind of a tough one for Zerg, I'm going to have to say. BLV may have his work cut out for him. It's really hard to kind of secure a third, take a third on Entombed. And when you got those center bases, you know, Terran can actually lift off to their advantage and take those, you know, the center bases that are guarded by the rocks to have some more forward advantage. So I'd say Entombed Valley is a pretty decent map for our Terran here. What are your thoughts on that?
I actually think Entombed Valley is more of a Terran favored map, because then they actually have the fact that the map is really big and it's going to be hard for the Zerg to actually get across, and he could be somewhat greedy in this map, I would say, since his third is fairly close, and he could play really defensive and just, you know, get an advantage over Micro.
Right. Well, I don't know. Some people would say that Zerg has it easy when it comes to large maps, but you know, I guess that comes down to playstyle, because Terrans have a harder time, I think, playing on wider maps because just like Muta harass and things like that, it's hard to get sort of turrets up. But on the flip side, you know, Medivacs can be going all over the place and just keeping the Zerg army split up while doing, you know, I think multi-prong attacks come a lot more into play on larger maps. So we'll just have to see. It's going to come down to different styles of play, I feel, on Entomb Valley, and how risky one is willing to get with their bases.
Yeah, I do see a lot of drops coming by on this map, especially through the natural and the main, since it is fair, because then there is that cliff that they could just easily go over, drop, and then just pick up back again when they come back, and just go to the natural again and just keep doing that. And it just gets really annoying for the Zerg, especially with those placements of like those blocked out minefields where they have the upper ground advantage, and the only way to get up there is by breaking those rocks. Right.
Yeah. So positional advantage for sure for Terran when it comes to engaging in that center area near the watchtower. That's if the Terran decides to utilize it. But you know, it gets kind of hard defending that when mutas come into play. You know, trying to keep those tanks on the high ground alive. If you have like 5-6 Marines up there, they'll just kind of die, and then that tank will get picked off.
Yeah. But this map is pretty good for Baneling and Lings, because since it is such a big map, especially in the middle of the map, you could just get a really good surround on those biomech if he does decide to go for that. And if he does lose that, it's going to be really hard to come back from that loss.
Right, yeah. Now, mech or bio, what do you think on this map? Because, you know, mech with that brute force, very positional. And, but bio, you know, being more mobile, yeah, I would have to go with bio. In you know, if I played Terran and I felt like there's a lot of open space, so, you know, a lot of room for splitting and things like that. Because I feel like mech would be a more of a, when positional comes more into effect, I feel it's stronger in, I guess, smaller maps, like maybe Ohana and Daybreak.
Yeah, I agree, because they do have the advantage of choke points, unless, well, actually they do have the advantage of choke points. So, I would say bio would work better because the middle is so huge that they could actually do better splits, or actually pre-split, especially with those siege tanks positionings, and it just helps a lot.
Absolutely. Alright, well, here we go. Game number 3 underway. Once again, Team Evo versus IGE. IGE up 2-0. And, you know, once again, we have BLV spawning in the top left as the blue Zerg. Moving on, this will be his 3rd round. He did just 2-0. 2 Team Evo members. And spawning, representing Team Evolution, is Evo Oz as the red Terran in the bottom right. Now, you know, we'll just have to see what Oz does against Zerg right here, because, you know, in the last game we just saw how easy, if you do a 3 base, you know, a quick 1 Rex 3cc, dies to a 3 base Roachling all in, you know. And you know, can't really afford the defenses or the extra bunkers when you're trying to do such macro heavy play. So I have to see what kind of play style Oz is into, if he does that bio, if he does mech. But I actually kind of heard you know, down the grapevine what Oz might do. He has a very particular play style, and being that in the past he was random, it might come to show. You know how random players play, they're all over the tech tree. They, you know, it's almost like they have no idea what they're doing. But you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, at this point in time, our random player has quite a good idea of what he wants to do. We'll just have to see how efficient it is, and if it catches our other guy off guard. You ever had any experience with random players?
I haven't really played much against random players, but I think that the only way to deal with them is mostly just by scouting how their playstyle is, and if he doesn't get that scout, he's not gonna really know what to use to counter him. But I just hope that Oz actually scouts what BLV actually does.
Right.
Because it does seem like he's going for a 15 hatch first.
Yeah, and BLV, you know, not knowing of Oz's past random playstyle, he is gonna, looks like, you know, respond as he would to a normal ZVT. Not do anything out of the ordinary, no early gas or anything like that. Scout going off for Oz. Now Oz, the only thing different about Oz right now is he is going for that early gas, as opposed to our previous Terran, who opted for a very heavy, mineral heavy build. And you know, we'll just have to wait and see where that gas cell location goes. In the meantime, these players do kind of are going to have a general idea. Once this Overlord reaches his second base over here, he's going to know exactly where Oz is. SCV going to see at the same time where that Zerg is. And, you know, at this moment in time, looking like a pretty standard ZVT.
Well, we do see an early factory, well, actually a standard factory, and he might actually go for that early Banshee Hellion reactor aggression against this Zerg, and it doesn't seem like he's scouted it yet, so he better have some sort of defense, because he doesn't even have a queen out against Hellion, so we'll have to see how it works out.
Right, and this may actually work, Sly, because, you know, he didn't do 1 rack CC, he's going straight into factory, so these Hellions are going to be much sooner. As you see, he's pumping out a preemptive Hellion, so it's going to be 1 out on the field. When that switch comes, it looks like he'll probably move out with 3, and it's going to be much, much sooner than most Zergs are used to, and he may not even have this ramp blocked off in time. His queen's not even started. He's only going to be running off 2 queens as of now, and you know, Ling finally getting there. Oh, and the Hellion is revealed. The Ling finally relayed all the message, and in response, we have a command center follow-up here. So it's going to be macro, just not nearly as macro as a 1 rack CC. Slightly delayed with more potential aggression for this Terran. But, oh, he does have the block off, but he may have to get these workers out of the natural here.
It does look like he is going for that possible Cloak Banshee early aggression, since he does have his starport started up, and what the Zerg player is doing is he just throws down a quick wall with a Spine Crawler, doing a double ramp queen block off, and it doesn't seem like those Hellions could do much damage, especially since that Zerg does have that well played defense.
You're absolutely correct. Now see, I'm almost 100% sure BLV did not want to drop his Evo chambers that early. He hasn't even taken his gases, so those Evo chambers can't serve much purpose. But right now, you know, if he didn't drop those Evo chambers, he could potentially lose the game. And, you know, that's perfect play from BLV, everything he's supposed to do. Now, you know, I don't know if you noticed this, but, you know, at home he built, you know, he was building that tech tree. You are right, he does have that Banshee on the way, command center on the way, not quite landed yet, working on getting that orbital command, and still pumping Hellion. So he's going to get this contain. He has map control, and once again, it's going to run down to that, you know, that Zerg not going to be able to take his third. And Terran is going to be 2 base to 2 base Zerg, and this is kind of the power of Hellion Banshee. You know, this is the reason why it's the meta. It's pure straight up map control. And it's like these no-lings can get out. If the Zerg decides he wants to do roaches, he's going to have to invest gas into that. And, you know, I think this is just, Oz is playing this exactly how he needs to play it if he you know, to transition into the mid-game. These Hellions are going to be shooting at this Evo chamber for something to do. they might even snatch it. Or snipe it, rather.
It does look like he's gonna start doing some aggression with Marauder play, and he is moving that Banshee in, but it doesn't have cloak. Too bad all the queens are actually at the ramp trying to take care of the Hellions. because if they do move away, the Hellions are going to try to move in, and we're going to see a lot of possibly Marauders just being pumped out on this 1-1-1 build.
You're absolutely right, and this Banshee has gone a little bit uncontested, almost taking that gas, and that's might actually hinder the Zerg a little bit in contrast of what he would actually prefer. No layer timing just yet, so still 10 minutes in, still no layer. Massive tech disadvantage, and Marauders joining the battle, and these Hellions are getting in. There's like 8 Hellions in the base. Oh my god, these drones are going to be getting roasted if he controls just right. They're clumping up a little bit. He needs to do some splits before he loses these drones. And we have 13 drones dead, about 14 drones. Marauders already dead, and these Hellions will be going down. Now, is it worth it, I wonder?
It does look like, if you look at the unit loss tab, he is losing quite a few. Actually, never mind, it's actually about even, but he does lose a lot of mining time due to the Hellion harass, and he is getting layer up, but I don't think he should actually be continuing mining so much gas, especially since he's not doing much with it early on. It seems like he's just making a lot of Hellions and Marauders right now.
You're absolutely right. Now this is quite a big, I mean, as you see, it's 1,300 resources for the Zerg loss. It's just 200 more than the Terran, but the Zerg had to remake all those drones. He may be taking a slight 6 harvester lead right now, but if you look, there is no attack units. There is nothing that can go and threaten the Terran right now, and Oz knows this. Oz realizes there's nothing that can hurt him, so he's going to be dropping a 3rd base. And if this is generally a bad spot. It looks like the Zerg is in a good spot, being that it's 41 to 38 harvesters, slight economic lead here. But it's 3 base to 3 base, and we do have a Spire on the way. And if we look at the infrastructure for Oz over here, it looks like he's going straight up mech. And this is this is exactly how you're supposed to transition to mech. You have your map control, you have your even number of bases, you're even threatening the 3rd base. And once again, this just goes to show the strength of properly executed mech.
Right now it's going to be really hard to see who is going to come on top, because since he is pumping out mutas, I don't think Oz really has much except for those 2 Marines at his base to take care of mutas, and those Marauders and Hellions are just going to get taken down really fast. But we do see a lot of siege tanks actually coming out. There might be some sort of base trade if he doesn't get some sort of anti-air coming out.
That's a good point, but we do have this this armory down, so 1 or 2 Thors can actually nullify quite a bit of mutalist. I'd say it's about 1 Thor per 6 mutas if it gets to be that threatening, but you're absolutely right. When it comes down to doing mech, you need to put down, you need to burn a scan to see if there is a Spire on the way, and if you don't want to burn a scan, just put down some preemptive turrets to sort of defend against that sort of play. But as you mentioned, these mutalisks are out. We do have 9 mutalisks on the way, and they're going to be denying this 3rd because we don't have anything out just yet. There is no turrets up, no Thors on the way or even close to being on the way, and this may actually do quite a bit of damage and bring BLV into the game.
We actually do have 1 Thor actually out already, but I don't think he's actually seen those mutas, and he's not actually moving those Thors to try to counter that muta. But it seems like it's not going to do too much damage, especially since all his SCVs are being moved out, but it is canceling out his mining time since they aren't just doing anything. They're just moving around. He needs to get more Thors coming out and missile turrets just to possibly hold this off.
And we do have just that. We have a Thor halfway done. So, just positional advantage right now, as we mentioned how mech was played. It is all purely positional. And, where he decides to put those Thors also come into play here. It needs to kind of fix his saturation between his mineral lines. He did kind of take a little bit of damage, but if we compare 13 workers to 19, and, I don't think that was enough that BLV took to sort of bring himself back into the match. You see, He is only halfway finished with his hatchery. Planetary Fortress going up for Oz at the 3rd, and he should be trying to saturate as fast as possible. Should actually like to take down these rocks just like the Zerg is doing on his end. But, you know, it's still 3 base to 3 base. No severe advantage for either side. +1 range coming up for the Zerg. That'll definitely help the Roaches. And +2 carapace for all the ground units for Zerg, compared to 1-1 of Terran Mech. And, you know, are we just running off? No, there we go. We have two armories, and not being utilized just yet. 1-1 is finished. I have yet to see 2-2. And there we go. He's listening in right as we speak. You know, but we still don't have these second gases coming down. I guess he's probably going to take those until he better saturates his 3rd. And, you know, these mutas coming in to kind of scout around, threaten a little bit, see if it can get any sort of damage done, but I don't see it being able to do too much, especially with these turrets here. Now, if he needs to get the repair down on that turret, he's going to lose it. No, and they possibly might lose these SCVs. No, that'd be too big of an investment to sacrifice to try and get that little amount of SCVs.
It does look like BOV is throwing down his 4th, and it just popped, and he is getting a lot of upgrades with 10 overlords coming out. So he is floating quite a bit of money without actually putting that into unit production, since the supply count is 95 to 135, and usually Zergs do want to have a higher supply count against Terran or any other races by this time. And he does have a infestation pit with about 22 roaches coming out soon. But I don't think he's going to be able to do much with that, especially since he does have Marauder and Siege tanks to counter roaches.
That is a good point, and, you know, if we look, finally, oh my goodness, a whole bunch of roaches being produced. And, you know, Ling Muta does not fare very well against early pushes like this. There's even a Marauder and a Marine in a mech mix. Roaches stepping forward into the field, trying to catch these tanks on siege, but it's not going to happen. The DPS of Thor's is going to be too much. I believe he's going to need more roaches, Sly. I don't think that's going to be enough.
Well, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do much, especially since he does have those tanks in a good position right now, and those roaches are just trying to get that concave. And he does take down a couple of tanks, well, 1 tank, and Thor gets taken down, but he needs to get those creeps spreading so that he does have that advantage over the mech when they're on the creep of the Zerg player. But he's pretty much behind.
That's correct. The Zerg is up to 67 harvesters, which is a 16 harvester lead over the Terran, but once again, for the longest time, it has been even number of bases. And, you know, if we check the cost efficiency, Thor being caught out of position here, and tanks caught unsieged. Now this is about as much of a pickup as you'll get for Terran, or for the Zerg rather, and he may just be able to clean this up. But if we look at the units lost tab, you know, cost efficiency out of Terran Mech is where the primary dominance comes from. Already we see like nearly 2,000 deficit for the Zerg here. And Terran forced to retreat to sort of, you know, rekindle his strength, because, yeah, he lost a lot of his brute force and a lot of his units, and he can't remax nearly as fast as the Zerg. And this kind of prompts a counterattack from BOV over here.
Exactly, and we do see Hive Tech coming up, so then we might actually see some Broodlord play coming with Infestors, and he is poking around his 3rd, but that planetary might actually not prevent him from actually doing too much damage. But it does seem like he's actually following through with this, and he's just sending a whole mess of roaches into there.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. It's not cost effective at all, I don't think. You know, at this point, yeah, he needs to kind of keep those roaches alive until he gets to that hive timing, as you mentioned. And I do like the choice for Oz, though, to sort of mix in some Banshees to help deal with these roaches, and that's actually going to just add more pain for the Zerg player. Yeah, it's going to be much harder. All the meters are off the field, so, you know, it's not a bad decision to bring in, you know, Banshees, which of course are just nothing but air to ground. And as you mentioned, we do have that Greater Spire on the way. Banshee's doing some work here.
We actually do see about 10 Infestors about to pop, but then Pathogen Glands are not quite ready yet, so they're not going to have the energy for fungals, but we might be seeing a lot of infested Terrans, and it does look like he's going to be doing a lot of denying right here of his creep spread, which could give the Terran some big advantage, especially since Zerg does need that creep spread to come back against this mech build, but it looks like his army's just dying to that mech build.
Absolutely. Oh my god, the Zerg lost so many infestors, and that is absolutely vicious for the Zerg player. Like, that's absolutely, it can be absolutely game ending to lose all your infestors in a pre-Broodlord push like this. And it's like, I mean, replacing that is, you know, 1,000 gas worth of resources, and it definitely cuts into your Broodlord count. So Oz got very lucky with some, you know, mismanaged infestors there, and it may actually go on to help him take this game.
We do see him actually trying to take a hidden expansion of a 5th, but it does look like it's going to get taken down by that single Hellion doing so much damage to those drones. But it doesn't look like he's actually going to try to make an army right now. Oz could easily just attack his 3rd and just take that down while he's just trying to get those gases up. And we do see 5 Broodlords morphing in. Hopefully, I don't know if that's going to be able to be enough to take care of this, but yeah.
Yeah, I think at this point the Zerg has taken too much economic toll, and if you look at the supply count, it's completely lopsided. The Zerg has 50% and even lower of what the Terran has, and the upgrades at this point, it's just like with 3-3 mech, man, trying to break it with nothing but Roach at this time is just, it's horrendous. And these Broodlords are going to be coming into the natural, but I don't think it's going to be enough. The majority of the minerals have been mined out. This base is actually completely sackable. We have one Viking as a response here. And, you know, I feel like the Terran is in a very solid position. There's really nothing he can do to throw away the game, rather. And, you know, you can see just how fast these Roaches go down. 2-2 Roaches against 3-3 mech.
Right now, it does seem like it's, never mind, it's a GG.
Yeah, that is a GG for Game 3 in favor of Team Evo, so we actually managed to come up one from being 2-0'd. So at least we know it's not going to be an all-kill Sly.
Exactly. Hopefully we'll see if Oz could actually do all-kill for us, because he does have pretty unique style of play, doing that Marauder mix with that Hellion early harassment. But yeah, basically I'd say the Zerg could have done better if he did have that better creep spread. Rather than just focusing too much on macro, he should have actually tried to produce more units rather than just trying to sack it in his 3rd base.
Right, now he did try and do some sort of like Roach counterattack. It's a good thing he didn't go straight to, you know, a hive, because a lot of Zergs would like to go for that, you know, quick 10 gas. They'll get a quick, you know, 12-minute hive, and you know, just try and turtle to Broodlords as fast as they can when they identify some sort of mech play. But you know, it was good that the Zerg didn't opt for that. It actually allowed him to do, or he decided he was going to do some sort of early Roach aggression, and I think it came just in time to where he was able to meet the mech force head on. Now I think when the Banshees were kind of mixed in and the Mutaplay got taken off the field, it became a lot more sketchy to try and, you know, fight with mass Roach against Banshee and all sorts of things that fly around in the air. But let's not forget about those early mutas though. So, you know, they definitely played a role in keeping the Zerg in for quite a while. Now the series, if you're just joining us, is IGE versus Team Evo. IGE up 2-1 against Team Evo. Oz playing a pretty solid TVZ. on Entombed actually managed to show us, how you're actually supposed to do mech. Opening up with that Hellion, mass Hellion, and that kind of shows you, as a Zerg player, what do you look for if you can't quite get into the base just yet? If you notice that mass Hellion builds and things like that, just go for that Roach one. But the sketchy part about that is, if they're doing Roach Marauder, which is kind of exactly what Oz was anticipating. He was anticipating, the Roach response, so he went Hellion Marauder, and then when he realized, okay, he's not quite massing Roaches just yet, he's going to clean up my attack with, Purely Queens, he's going to discontinue Marauders. So, I mean, that's, pretty good play. Pretty good play from the Terran, I think, in my opinion. Now, once again, the map is going to be Ohana. We're going to be seeing another TVZ. Cuban Missile being the next representative for Team IGE. And, we'll just have to see if Oz opts for that mech play once again, or if Oz deviates from what we've just seen into sort of more of a bio mech or a straight up bio, or maybe even Sky Terran, if that's even a thing. But we'll just have to see how Cuban Missile, the Zerg player, decides he's gonna handle any sort of Oz's meticulous playstyle. And once again, we have Evo Oz spawning as the blue Terran in the top left of Ohana, representing Team Evolution. And for Team IGE, Cuban Missile, the red Zerg spawning in the bottom right. Hopefully we have a good solid macro TVZ as we did last game. Have fun, good game, good luck coming from Cuban Missile over here. You two coming from Oz. Scouts on the way. Now, what do you think? What do you think, Sly?
Well, actually, I think that if Oz actually does do his weird, different, unique playstyle again, it might actually have to force this Zerg to do a lot more scouting just to anticipate what Oz might actually be doing. But it also depends whether or not Oz will scout, whether if Cuban does go for early Roaches or some sort of 2-base Spire play. See if he will actually do that 1-1-1 build again with that Hellion Marauder initiation.
And it looks like Cuban Missile opting for a drone scout, which is pretty interesting. Drone scouts can be very annoying, picking up barracks, SCVs, and stuff like that, building SCVs, and but it looks like he's going to be scouting for gases, because that's primarily why you do a drone scout. You're looking for gases and things like that. Oz going to be trying to deny any sort of early expansion, which it looks like it just might be from Cuban Missile over here. Yeah, we got a 16 hatch going down. Going to be blocked by an engineering bay, expecting to see an early pull in response.
Actually, it looks like he's just going to go for that third expansion and taking a single gas without throwing a spawning pool yet. He doesn't see Oz taking any gas, so he's probably going to stay on marine play for a bit. Maybe he might be going for some bio rather than mech in this game, but seems like he's really trying to pump out those gas and try to possibly do some early aggression.
You're absolutely right. He's not taking the gas anywhere near as soon as he did in the last game, so we're actually seeing kind of a mirror of what we saw from Faplord earlier. It's an engineering block at the natural for positional play, and then trying to capitalize it again. Capitalizing on it again at the third. He's going to send that Marine out, and the Marine might actually intercept this Overlord on the way. Is he going to see it? I don't know if he will. He did see it, but he's not going to respond to it. He's going to opt to go delay that third as long as he can. And that drone's still in there, man. He can still see what's going on. Finally, a gas for Oz coming down. And a second Marine on the way. to a second bunker down there by the third. So very, very positional play coming from Oz here over here.
It does force a cancel, and it seems like he's just going to... Maybe he might have to be forced to do an all-in at this rate on a 1 base, since he does get denied from his natural early on and his third with that bunker. He is teching up for speed, so he's going to have to probably use those Marines for some kind of harass, but it seems like he's just sitting there. He does put his drones back on gas, so he might actually go either for some Baneling bust, or maybe he might take a second gas for roaches.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And this is a very mindset kind of thing. This is at the point where the Zerg feels like he's like, okay, I'm so far behind. He had that drone in the base that just recently got killed. He may very well just saw the command center. And yeah, he did see the command center building. He realizes, okay, I'm on even bases. The Terran base is actually going to be faster than me. This is a position that I don't want to be in. I have to do some sort of damage to kind of bring myself back into the game. And, you know, we see a Roach Warren on the way, so it's not going to be a Bane bust. We may just see another Roachling all-in, Sly.
Yeah, but we do see a lot of bio being made. Like, 3 barracks coming out, and he is making that tech lab, so he might have that early Marauder against his Roaches with a bunker at his natural. And he's just basically trying to play a bit defensive for now. Just try to... since he knows that he's ahead, he could just pretty much play really defensive and be ahead against this Zerg.
That's precisely, I think, what he's going to do. I would like to see what this factory is going to do, immediately producing a Hellion, and that's primarily probably going to be used just to go scout around, you know, because I don't see that doing much in a straight-up engagement. And especially with roaches out on the field. But I think Oz right now is sort of playing in the dark. He doesn't know. He knows the third's not up because he does have a lone Marine kind of chilling out there, which is actually about to get picked off. But he doesn't see any sort of double gas play. He sees 1 gas and no Roach Warrens. So, you know, depending on what this Hellion sees, I think may influence the game a little bit.
So we do see a lot of roaches actually, possibly he's actually going for a roach all-in right now, just sending those roaches, and he might, actually he's floating a lot of money, and he's actually doing it a roach speedling all-in right now, while he does have Marauders and Hellions with a lot of Marines coming down with another bunker. So I think Oz is actually able to hold this off if he just positions those Hellions without getting caught off guard.
You're right. I feel like Oz is in a comfortable position. He does have these Hellions. He's trying to focus down as many Lings as he can, buying himself enough time. 20 Lings on the way to reinforce 4 Cuban missile right here. And he has that bunker up. He has Marauders up. He has a decent number of Marines. He has about 11 Marines or so. And, you know, 2 Hellions. So that's about as good of a composition as he can get. And as you point out, you know, there is a Bane's Nest on the way. He's going to try and use that. It won't finish in time by the time Oz is ready to defend. Just to go on and scouting and checking the all-in. But, you know, both the supplies are even right now. But if we look at the Harvest tab, 26 to 26. But the Mules are giving the Terran a slight economic advantage, nearly double, rather. And Oz going to check that third. No, not just yet. He's not going to see the third. And, you know, that would actually be kind of crucial. I'll let you know the Zerg is deciding he's going to try and macro out of it. But he did invest heavily into that all-in, and he's just going to fall farther and farther behind. But unless Oz lets him catch up, if Oz decides he's not going to macro as heavy as he feels safely to, it may just kind of be a very, you know, wobbly slope from here on out when it comes to terms of macro.
We do see a starport up for Oz, and he with the reactor, so he might actually go opt in for that drops on his bases, especially since he doesn't have much scouting on info on him, and his bases aren't really saturated, rather than his natural, which is oversaturated a bit by about 4 drones. And he does take a third, so he's gonna try to out macro this Terran to try to get back ahead, but we'll see how it goes.
Right, and I do like this spread that Oz has. He's, you know, if there is any sort of threat of Bane and it catches him off guard, he's not like doomed, you know. It's good defensive position and no command center just yet. There we go. We got a double command center, slipping on his macro a little bit. Saturation still kind of poor for the Terran. 39 to 34, not terribly behind just yet, but you know, the Zerg is trying to actually macro out of it. He's not as ahead as he would like to be, because potentially he could have been much further ahead. But you know, he does have a defensive force out. This force isn't going to go to waste. It's going to make sure he doesn't have to produce so many units whenever an attack comes. But at the same time, you know, he's on par with the Terran. The Terran has mules, and you know, the economy is going to stabilize for the Terran and for the Zerg. So we're definitely in for a macro game. It's going to come down to when the third is going to fly down to actually the mining spot. And you know, I feel like we're in store for a macro game.
Exactly. Well, we do see the infestation pit coming out, so he is probably thinking that he's going all bio. So fungos will be really essential in this play against this bio build, and if he does get really nice splits against those banelings, it's gonna really help him get even more ahead. And his 2 command centers are about to actually be finished, and he's actually doing fairly well right now. He's about to take his 3rd, possibly a 4th with a command center. He does have his 1-1 upgrades about to be finished. Well, yeah, and he's just playing pretty defensive for now.
And we do have a changeling for Cuban Missile over here, just kind of sitting in Oz's army. So he knows exactly that there are two multi-pronged drops going to be happening really soon. And automatically you see Cuban Missile pulling his forces back. He does know that the drops are on the way. Creep being shot down at the 3rd of Oz. And Oz should be trying to move and you know, clear that Overlord ASAP, but he doesn't quite know it's there yet. And immediately getting ready to defend those drops thanks to that changeling. And yeah, Cuban Missile may actually be in quite a decent spot right now. 61 harvesters to 47. It's about where you want to be. You need to be taking a 4th right about now, and I don't see these drops doing too much unless they're not managed correctly. A third is actually doing a little bit of damage, more so than it should have, especially at the main as well. Kind of a little bit of mismanagement coming from Oz, but you know, when coming to the mid-game transition, oh, beautiful choke for those Lings. Lings going down in a heartbeat. Good stim from Oz, and a lot of drones. No pool going down for these drones. They're just doomed to die. And if we look, 27 harvesters killed for Oz once again, just doing super economic damage as he did in the last game. And that's actually going to put the Zerg down by 15 harvesters at disadvantage. And this is prompting a very heavy counterattack from Cuban Missile. Ling Bane all the way with a small number of roaches to reinforce. Now with these siege tanks here, I don't see this doing too much damage depending on how well he does his splits. What are you thinking, Sly?
I think that he could actually do fairly well against this because he does have Marauders with that 1-1 upgrade, and it can just tank all those Baneling blows. But he does have that Changeling still in there, scouting everything that's going on. And he does try to attempt to split with those Marauders all in the front, taking all the hits from the Banelings. Not much of his Marines get taken down. Tanks are just unsieged, just dealing damage to the Roaches. And it does look like Oz is winning the fight with another possible drop.
You know, I thought that was going to go the other way. I thought Oz was going to get caught unsieged and unprepared, and I thought, you know, there was going to be better Bane connects. But as you mentioned, the Marauders did absorb a lot of damage from those Banelings, and Oz taking a forward position on the map, has 2 tanks, but the reinforcement point's going to be so close to surround coming in. Tank's going to be going down immediately, but good kiting coming from Oz, and it looks like this Terran force, rather, is actually going to clean this up and go on to do even more damage. Creep Queen going down, 3rd Queen going down, and additional reinforcements on the way. GG from Cuban Missile. Oz evens the score between Team Evo and IGE to 2-2. Now that was actually very interesting. I thought the Zerg was you know, was actually going to manage to do significant damage to, you know, to that force, especially caught with the Unsiege. But you know, I think Oz actually handled it well enough to do a follow-up counterattack, and the Zerg just couldn't reinforce because with such heavy Harvester, you know, sort of pain he took, I guess you could put it, all the Harvesters he lost and the econ deficit that he was in, and he just couldn't reinforce. He didn't have the economy and he couldn't keep up the attack, so ultimately it led to his defeat. Good drops by Oz.
Exactly. And actually, if Oz were to actually lose that fight, he would actually have his third started mining pretty soon. So he would still actually be ahead in econ right after that attack. And he had another army just reinforcing the current army that's been pushing out. So he's actually going to be in a big econ ahead and army supply-wise.
Right, yep. And once again, showing, you know, Oz is just not a one-trick pony. He showed us mech in the first game in his TVZ. His second TVZ, he showed us biomech. And, you know, doing a very good job of incorporating, when he recognizes there's roaches, he keeps his marauders in there. And, you know, he's playing a very, very solid TVZ. Very good game. Now we just have to wait and see who IGE decides to send out next, whether it's whether it's another Zerg or maybe a
Terran players going up.
Oh, so we're going to be seeing a TVT. You're a TVT expert, right?
Not. Well, all I pretty much know is that it's pretty much like a chess game from what I hear. It's all about positioning well, who gets better engagements, whether they get effective drops.
Right, you know, I think, I don't know how many prominent matchups in TVT there are, but I think a lot of it is either going to be biomech or straight up mech. I mean, I don't know if pure bio works in TVT, and if it does, I imagine the same principles in like TVZ apply. You have to be consistently active with your drops and, you know, always on your upgrades, things like that, because, you know, of course, as with any mirror matchup, upgrade timings and things like, you know, different tech timings are going to be a very crucial sort of factor in this matchup. So Oz once again moving on to the next game, Game 5, and going to be showing us his wits when compared to TVT. Now IGE Authority being the team leader, we got to be quite the ego boost for Oz if he manages to take a game off of the you know, the team lead. But then again, on the flip side, Authority has some pressure. He can't let this scrub Oz, you know, walk all over him in front of all of his clanmates. He's got to take the game. He's got to, you know, advance into 3-2 against Evo. But, you know, we'll just have to see. I don't imagine there's a build order win that's going to be going on here. Both these sides are going to have to step up some sort of their scouting efforts to kind of make sure nothing gets past them here.
Actually, for this map, I tend to see a lot of 2-racks early aggression, like proxy 2-racks, and those are really pretty hard to hold off for Terrans, especially 1-racks fast expand. If they do opt for that, it's gonna really do a lot of damage if he can't hold it off. But yeah, 2-2 to the score, tied.
Right, now we are moving on to Game 5. The map is going to be Cloud Kingdom. Of course, it's the WCS version, so you're not going to be seeing any sort of triple supply block-ins either. That would be pretty crazy, though, if you can control the supply depot, the neutral supply depot. How annoying would that be, you think? That would like completely defeat the purpose, though, I think. No, because if the opponent controlled the neutral supply depot, it's not like you can still use it for any sort of block-ins and things like that. Anyway.
Well, wouldn't they get vision advantage?
Maybe, yeah, you're right about that. But we do have authority once again for IGE spawning in the top right of Daybreak? No, Cloud Kingdom. Cloud Kingdom. Yeah. We got Oz representing Team Evolution spawning in the bottom left as the Red Terran. TVT, big chess game, and the perfect map for said chess game. You know, not too much drop potential, but it is there. It is still threatening and can do decent amount of damage if goes unchecked. And you know, what if both of these players decide they want to go mech? You know, then that would be actually the longest game in history, but it would probably be interesting to see. Now, a 12 gas coming out of Authority, no gas yet for Oz, so, you know, automatically from the start here, from the get-go, delayed barracks, nothing quite fishy out of Oz just yet. And, you know, I imagine this is going to be some sort of Banshee. Early Banshee or Blue Flame timing attack. It's about as much as I can speculate on that, because I don't see it being at like an early stim timing. We'll just have to see. Finally, Oz matching the Oz finally matching over here. The gas timing. Sorry, having some headphones issues. There we go. Loud and clear. Still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now this barracks is going to be slightly faster, being that not as much, or a delay, or that earlier gas rather is going to cut into that, you know, production timing. But you know, he is going to have that slight tech advantage. Not as many units, and it, you know, factory on the way. That's a telltale sign of some sort of, you know, one base sort of tech advantage timing, and it's not going to be too macro heavy, depending on how macro heavy Oz wants to play. But we do have a second gas coming down for Oz, which is one more than Authority has to show, and that's going to go into, you know, also another factory. So none of these players playing too macro heavy or oriented, and neither of these players really know what's going on. We see Authority here has an idea. There's a naked racks, but not much else. 2 Marines in the forward position to deny any sort of scouting. And we have a reactor on the way, so definitely not going to be Banshee. It is going to be a sort of Marine Hellion timing, or maybe just a Hellion timing. But still getting gas. I believe if there's going to be Marines mixed in, Authority would have definitely wanted to pull off gas. And a Reaper coming out for Oz. Now, I don't know, Sly. I don't think Reapers do too well against Hellions.
I think he's just pretty much going to try to use that to scout while it's trying to do some harass. And usually when they do go for this really early gas, they might actually do a quick Banshee fast expand, I'm guessing. And he's got to have some sort of anti-air, which he is going for that Banshee also. So I think it's going to be some sort of a mirror play, but it's slightly different, especially since he is going to have that Reaper. And did he get taken down?
Yeah, the Reaper did die.
So yeah, not much harass coming from Oz, but it does look like he might actually be doing some Hellion drops, I'm guessing, since he does have that medevac coming out, and Oz is coming out with that Banshee, going for an expansion.
You know, if Oz does go to that third, he might actually be able to do some damage. But Authority kind of rolling down to the third. It looks like he wants to maybe set up a macro command center or something like that. Or, I mean, a third base rather. But Oz did offer that third base, which, you know, he's going to use that Banshee. This is kind of something you see in TVZ. I mean, aside from the you know, the early Reaper, it looks like a very macro-heavy build. Oh, no, that's his second command center. My mistake. But Authority is moving out across the map with a medevac. Definitely going to be seeing a drop, and this can actually be very devastating if unchecked. In response, there's one tank and a Viking and 4 Marines to defend against this, but, you know, depending if he sees it in time or not, reacts in time, this could probably do a lot of damage.
It looks like he's just waiting to get all those units into that medevac, and then since he is hiding in the fog, he's not going to really see the units coming through. He could just easily just keep sending them in, just avoiding his natural from all those units, especially the siege tanks. And if he does actually get this to do a lot of damage, especially like deny all those SCVs, it's going to really hurt Oz econ-wise, and he's going to be pretty much ahead.
Oh, those SCVs, they're clumping up. Tanks finally coming back. Marines joining the battle, and the Hellions do go down, and these Marines will be saved. But meanwhile, at Authority's base over here, it is 17 workers to 12 workers killed, 5 plus 5 in favor of Oz, and oh my god, this full energy mule does go down, and you know, there is a second base coming down, but it is slightly delayed. I'd have to say that Oz is at a very good advantage as of this point. And having to pull SCVs, you know, that is actually so many Harvesters lost. And a counterattack coming from Oz. This is about as perfect of a timing that it can get, Sly.
Exactly, especially since he doesn't have many SCVs mining. He's not going to even have enough resources to reinforce his army, especially when he has tanks and just so many Marines with that 2 base plate coming on from Oz. So if he does, he might actually be able to end the game right now if he does, unless he holds it off. But those tanks are just doing so much damage.
Yeah, I think you're right. He probably is going to go take the game right now. There's like no SCVs for Authority. GG once again for Team IGE.
I think we might have an all-kill.
And this does bring the series to 3-2 in favor of Evo. Oz is on a roll here.
Great comeback.
You know, and it's like, that was the smallest force ever. That was like 6 Marines and 3 tanks moving across the map, and you wouldn't think it's very threatening, but, you know, in TVT it came down, you know, there's Harvesters lost. And I think it was just the tech, the gas allocation of where the tech went, you know. It's like Authority opted for that medevac for that different attack, but Oz opted for the Banshee, which in the end seemed like it benefited more than that workaround did with the medevac. So, you know, that where that gas went just seemed like it decided where the game went, if that makes sense. You know what
exactly.
I mean? Now, to my surprise, that game actually didn't go on for another 45 minutes. No, but it would have turned out to be a biomech play. It seemed it was on the way to be.
Pretty fast Terran game.
Now I think they're going to be sending forward another Zerg player to try and end the reign of Oz. And once again, Oz is going to demonstrate his sort of, you know, how solid he is when it comes to his TVZ. He's done very well in the past 2 matches. And, you know, we'll just have to... he did biomech. He did mech. The only thing that's left is like either straight up bio or sky toss. And you know, being a random player in his history, I believe he's probably done those at one point in time. He's probably fluent with those. And you know, I think it'd be interesting to see something, I guess you can say silly. Something silly like that.
Oz does have pretty unique play style, which I haven't really seen much of his games before, so I'm not sure of how he usually plays as Terran, but so far it's been pretty mind-blowing. He holds off attacks fairly well.
That sort of randomness kind of comes out of it, because random players, they for a while they kind of do things that, oh, excuse me, they sort of develop their own little ways of playing. I mean, you know, from what I've observed against my endeavors against random opponents, but yeah, some of it's really good, some of it's not so good. It's just really interesting to see the different thought process that goes into these builds. But Williker is going to be stepping forward here to sort of defend IGE's honor here. For some reason, he decided he wanted Antigua Shipyard as a map, and everyone knows that Antigua is very heavily Terran favored in the TVZ matchup. A very questionable decision, but you know, we'll just have to see. Maybe he has a specific plan. Maybe something revolves around the fog in the back of the Terran base, or just all the flight paths that mutas can have. I don't know.
Well, if he does opt in for mutas, he's gonna be pretty good with map control, but seeing that Terrans could go pretty passive, he's gonna have probably a lot of turrets if he does go for that build. Usually, I see a lot of quick thirds actually for Terrans on this base. They just turtle up so well with that natural, and it's just really hard to break.
Right, especially with that cliff, like at the northern end of Oz's base. And they're just tanks on that ledge are just so powerful. Very positional. Now, we do have Evo Oz on Antigua Shipyard spawning in the bottom right corner, and representing Team IGE once again, Williker. I guess we'll just call him Will as the blue Zerg in the top left. Now, you know, as we were saying, for Zerg, generally it's hard to get a 4th on this map. They can take the high yield, or it's not a high yield on the WCS version, but they can definitely take that center base, but it's so exposed to, you know, upper cannon fire. They can break down these rocks and take this as a 4th base, but you have this ramp that's so easily accessible to, you know, Hellion run-bys, and, you know, it's just on the route to drops, and it's very positional as well, because you have these ledges for the tanks up here, at the 3rd as well, and even in 4th base areas, there's all kinds of ledges, and if you just, you know, in the center, it's all high ground, so tanks up there, and, you know, planetary fortresses at the forward base right, you know, in the center. Very, very positional for Terran, and a lot of map features are very favorable towards siege tanks. So we'll just have to see if Oz decides he wants to go that route, or if he wants to do something unorthodox. And already we see an early gas timing, so, or a basic one base gas timing. We'll just have to see where this goes.
Well, usually when I play against ZVTs, I tend to see a lot of mech builds, because this map does have a lot of places where you could have choke points, but at the same time, if he doesn't position himself well in the middle of the map, he could get an easy surround from the 3 points, and that could fairly be bad if he does go towards mech. But he has to play really safe and try to prevent as much creep spread as possible from this blue Zerg.
Right. Creep actually comes into a lot of play here. Creep is just so good, and someone's stealing his bandwidth. But you know, creep, it just like, it's so beneficial how good it is, and like it lessens how many siege tank shots your units take by the time they close the distance, and it allows for map vision. You can see drops, and when positioning comes into play, creep spread is just that much more important. Like on this map, I would actually have to say that it's mandatory.
Exactly, and then we do see a factory, so he might be going for early reactor Hellion coming out from him and try to just do as much damage as possible to him. But we do see 2 queens about to come out soon. Overlord scouts that he is taking gas, but he doesn't see the factory, and I think he's gonna do a second command center, so I think they're playing fairly equal right now.
You know, I'd like to also note that there are no scouting lings made just yet. That Overlord actually managed to make it away. He didn't die. And there's nothing sort of on the field to let the Zerg player know what is on the way. And that, you know, playing in the dark, you definitely don't want to drone when you're in the dark. But there is a Roach Warren on the way. And speed as well. So we may just... you know, we may have just realized why there are no lings on the field. Double Overlord on the way. So, okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have a Roach Ling all in, you know, coming from this Zerg player. Now, is Oz going to be able to hold this off? He's actually supply capped as of right now. And another factory on the way. This may actually be very devastating for Oz, as he's not going to have tanks in time, especially with no tech lab on the way.
We do see a lot of roaches coming out for this blue Zerg, and I think, is this the timing of a 7 roach rush or something? But
2 base 7 roach rush.
He does have that bunker up, but he's gonna have to have a lot more than just Marines to take care of that, especially if he's just pumping out a lot of Hellions rather than seeing that roach army about to attack right now. Hopefully he just gets a tech lab or some sort of armored counter.
Now I would like to just kind of point out there is no starport, and generally when you're doing this sort of play, you need to get that Banshee out, not only for harass but to defend against such all-ins, like this roach rush we're seeing here. And this may actually be very devastating. Lots of lings on the way. Those lings may be phased out by these Hellions, but it's all going to come down to control here. In these moments, it's all based around control. There is no Banshee on the way. This can very well kill Oz. And we'll just have to see. It's all based on control. Few SCVs being pulled here. And is this bunker going to go down? Yes, the bunker does go down. These Marines are going to die. A lot of splash going down on these roaches, but it may actually be enough. These Hellions aren't doing too bad. But Ling's running into the main, taking out so many SCVs. And these roaches also in the natural, just kind of being trapped by these SCVs on hold position. Hellions running into the main to try and clean up these Lings, but not after so many SCV losses and the forcing a lift on the command center. Now, I don't know, Sly. I feel like that the Zerg can just macro up from here on out because he took so many SCV losses. It is 27-9.
Well, we do see 2 tanks coming out, so it should be able to clean out this roach harass. It looks like this Zerg might be going for some sort of early, quick 4 gas play right here, so we might be seeing some mutas coming out. He isn't yet going for a 3rd, and he's just doing so much damage with those Lings and roaches.
Right, and I feel like the Zerg, instead of macroing up, that's an option, but he also has the option to sort of press the attack. There is still no Banshee on the way, and there's not gonna be one on the way, and that is pretty much the only thing that you can use to sort of stop this kind of aggression. If the Zerg decided he wanted to continue aggression, there's nothing that can actually stop him from it. But the Zerg is actually opting to sort of macro up and take it into a longer game here, in which that's completely fine as well. He has all the options in the world for him right now.
So we do see a Spire dropping, so we're gonna definitely see some Muta play coming out from our blue Zerg. He does have really quick layer. I'm amazed that he did get that behind that Roach play. Our Terran player isn't doing that well, but he does have Meals with that double CC orbital, so he might be able to come back if he does spot that Muta. So he has to build some sort of turrets, but he doesn't even have an NG Bay started yet, so this might be a bit devastating if he does get those Mutas out.
Yeah, it's looking very grim for our Terran here, and you know, in these situations, there's not too much that can be done. Oz gonna try and do whatever he can. He did repair his Hellions. He's gonna try and get some sort of scouting info or something like that. He didn't quite want to burn any scans, or can afford to burn scans to see what sort of tech is on the way. But you know, this is pretty much an unwinnable situation for the Terran. But I gotta tell you, Sly, I've seen Terrans come back from pretty deep holes myself.
He does scout those Mutas on the way, and he just GG's right after he sees them, because he doesn't have any anti-air against those Mutas.
Right, he didn't have an armory, he didn't have an NG Bay, as you mentioned, and you know, he just had absolutely no response. Good game from Williker.
Yes. Thief actually says this is a timing attack from Tang's SC Roachling all-in, followed the exact same timing.
Really? That's interesting. And it seemed to work
so, yeah,
just well. Quite well. So IGE does manage to tie the score to 3-3. Now we have 3 more matches on the way if it is going to be neck to neck. Unless someone 2-0s, well, we're not ruling out any options here. But after Oz, we are sending in Troll? Actually, I don't even think he's in the chat. Where's he at?
I'll find him.
Is he online?
Yeah, he's talking in the chat.
But yep, I believe Oz found his TVZ kryptonite. Roachling all in. But yeah, it's like that vulnerability if he went straight to those Banshees, because that's pretty standard going for those Banshees and getting cloaks. So if he would have stuck with the standard, you know, I think he would have been just fine. He may have taken some SCV losses trying to repair bunkers and supply depots, and may have even been forced to lift, but he wouldn't have taken such significant losses, I don't feel like, and he would have been able to stay in that game, all because of that one Banshee, I feel. And
exactly. I think he should have actually tried to produce less Hellions, because he did pump out a lot of Hellions, which does cost about 100 minerals per Hellion, and that does hurt his econ, especially since he's using against Roaches, which won't be really cost effective.
Right. And now, you know, when you get to those heavy Hellion numbers, you can actually fight small numbers of Roaches with Hellions, which is quite interesting to see, actually. It's hilarious. You have these just mass Hellions just cooking these Roaches in low numbers, and you know, unfortunately for Oz, it didn't quite get to that point, but he was actually faring quite well against those 6 Roaches or so with his Hellions. Just that Ling run by happened to catch him. Now, going in after Oz is his name is Oz Sucks. So I think these guys actually sort of put that together and planned it, because if Oz did get knocked out, Oz Sucks would kind of go in and carry the torch per se, and yeah, we'll see if he does just that. If he 2-0s these guys, then he has the right to call himself Oz Sucks, but if not, we're going to force a name change. And it's going to be, his name is Troll. So we're going to refer to him as Troll in this match for to save ourselves confusion. Because the true Oz was just knocked out, tying the game at 3-3. Now, a little thing about Troll is not only is he really a troll, but he is also a random player, so I expect to see a unique build out of him as well. Something not heard of ever in StarCraft. And it's probably going to catch the other player off guard. Heck, it'd probably catch anyone off guard. He's going to do some sort of like 18-minute SCV all in with like pure straight up Banshee Viking. And he'll have like an infestor in there somehow.
We'll see. Random players tend to have really different playstyles than regular main race players. Is he gonna be playing random in this matchup, or is he gonna have
he's a pure random player.
Oh, this will be interesting.
Core Hall compound.
I've actually seen this map on some streams where it's really risky for Zergs to take a third if they're going against a Terran, because they do have that high ground advantage, because that is they have the cliff advantage against their third, which they could just position some siege tanks, and it's really hard to take that third. So we'll see if he does get Terran and he does that.
Alright, we're just trying to clear up the map here. This is kind of an unorthodox map. I don't believe it was ever in a proper map pool. I'm just trying to verify that this is an okay map to play on. Alright, both players have agreed. Core Hall Compound LE it is. Different kind of map here. I feel like it's very hard to judge whether it's small or big. It's kind of a medium map, I'd say. And it's also not too... I don't feel like it's too favorable for either matchup. We'll just kind of have to see. I haven't seen it in a while, so... I feel it's going to be new to everybody. Unless Troll specifically practices on this one map by himself against like AI, to where he like spends hours on it figuring out all the little nicks and crannies. I could park a siege tank here, work infestors up this line here, kind of thing, for all his different matchups. Alright, we are underway here. Game number 7 out of a best-of-9 series. The series is IGE, Team Evo, both 3-3, neck-to-neck. And, Team Evo sending out Oz Sucks, or a.k.a. known as Troll, random player, against Williker, which, he actually managed to catch the real Oz off guard, because the Oz did opt for to skip that Banshee, and it did catch him off guard in his DVT. We'll just have to see what sort of random play style Troll decides he's going to come up with. Now, the map is Core Hall Compound. Once again, can't speculate too much about this map. It's not very common, but it seems like it would be, you know, evenly balanced. You know, being that it's not very, it's kind of hard to speculate on, being that it's not too prominent of a map, doesn't have too much of a presence, primarily played in peat modes and things of that nature, and you know, I can't see why, you know, many people would even practice on this map. I don't think it's included too much in WCS or MLGs or things of that nature. So kind of an off map. We'll see if it affects anything in particular. And Troll does happen to spawn as Protoss in the top right, blue Protoss, and in the bottom left we have Williker representing Team IGE as the red Zerg. And Sly, you're gonna have to give me a few minutes here. I gotta replace something.
Okay.
I think that means talk.
Well, from what I know of this map, we do see spawning on the top right with our blue Protoss, we have Oz Sucks, aka Troll, and on the bottom left of the map we have a red Terran IGE Williker spawning as our red Zerg. So in this map it's gonna be really hard just to take a third for him, especially since he could go for any sorts of all-ins as a Protoss Forge Fast Expand, which he does have that pylon up ready, and he sends in a drone scout really early to see what's going on, and he does go for a Forge first. So it's gonna be no early aggression, just playing a bit defensive early on, macroing up, but he does take. You do see a weird build from our red Zerg. He is going for a quick gas extractor and follow up with a spawning pool, so he's gonna go for really fast speedlings on our blue Protoss. So we're gonna see some early aggression, I guess.
And this may actually work. Williker looks like he's going to be trying to maybe get in the way of any buildings, and this may just be some sort of speedling, you know, all in maybe, because you know this natural choke point is so wide it could barely even be considered a choke point. I mean, and the cannon placement, it's kind of off, and if it's too far out or doesn't mix well with where the gateway placement is, it's going to be like completely vulnerable. And drones being pulled, I don't know what is. Oh, okay. I didn't even see that pylon go down. Good, good map awareness, better than my map awareness. Williker demonstrates here, and there is a cannon coming. So Oz is doing some sort of cannon play here, denying this natural. That natural won't be able to go down, but it won't be too much later than it would have been anyways because of that speedling opener we saw out of Williker. And finally, a gateway on the way. Now, you know, when it gets to this point, you pretty much just have to sack it and go home.
I don't think that Oz knows that there's going to be a speedling all-in coming from our red Zerg right here, Williker. So he doesn't really have much defense at his main, and he does have a gap between that cannon and pylon. So if he does get those speedlings through, it's going to really hurt Oz bad if he doesn't scout that soon.
Yeah, he doesn't quite have too much scouting info just yet. These lings are going to pass past this probe, and we also see a baneling nest on the way, so a possible bust. The probe is not going to get in range to see it. The Queen is going to also help deny any sort of scouting effort. Cybercore on the way. No Zealot just yet. Overlord being scared, and you know, I think these lings, I don't quite know what's going on right now. These larvae are being used, okay, for additional links, so we're definitely going to be seeing a Bane bust. And it is recognized by Troll. Troll is throwing up 2 additional cannons. And, you know, this may actually help quite a bit. It depends if that Artosis pylon is caught or not.
I think he actually spotted that gas, so he's going to probably get ready for some sort of lots of lings coming through, but he doesn't know that there's banelings. I don't think he spotted the banelings nest, so those cannons are just going to get taken down really fast by those banelings, since they do about 80 damage to structures. And if he does hold this off, he's going to be pretty much ahead, but...
Oh, and a baneling hitting on the probes. All the probes are going down, and essentially that is enough damage to justify a victory for Williker over here. And, you know, there's not much he can do to respond. He can have super macro, and, you know, it's just not what baneling bust. The baneling bust went exactly and as perfect as Williker could have hoped. The cannons were really close to each other. There's no solid firm wall at the front like you know, for the most part, most Protoss need. You know, they'll usually have the gateway and the cybercore and the forge up front. But you know, this just goes to show you that if you try and use, you know, cannons at the front door, they just can be busted down, just as we just witnessed.
I felt that the building positioning was a big decision for this. If he didn't put that cybernetic core behind that gateway and put it in front of those 3 cannons, it could have might as well just tanked all that baneling and just possibly just let those cannons live enough to just finish off those lings, and he could have still been in the game.
Right.
But he did put them all next to each other, and they just get taken down so fast by those banelings.
Yep. I really like the response, though. I mean, Troll, he recognized the gas. He saw that there was, you know, there's no third, there's no natural. So he drops extra cannons. So it was a proper response. It's just, it all came down to building positioning to hold that all in. Now, if those banelings, if they crashed on buildings or something like that, we could, you know, it's arguable, but I would have felt that Troll would have been in the perfect position. He would have had such a huge eco lead, 2 mining bases, and, you know, a higher tech advantage. It would have been just so one-sided from there on out. But, you know, that's the risk of an all-in, of a baneling all-in, is, you know, this is either going to work and do a lot of damage, or, you know, I'm behind and I gotta do something, you know, gotta do a follow-up all-in. But, you know,
exactly.
Good play from both players. You know, it kind of makes me wonder if the Zerg was sort of prompted to go all-in because of the fact he couldn't retake his natural.
Probably, well, even if he did take his third, he's not going to be really far ahead, because he's going to be a bit late, since he did take really early gas rather than try to just mine out minerals and macro it up. So he's going to pretty much behind whether or not he does take that third.
Right. And you know, I mean, that's generally, if the Protoss is macroing properly and chronoing his, you know, probes and whatnot, taking a second and a third after a failed Bane bust is just, it just doesn't work. Any sort of timing can kill you when you're trying to play the catch-up game. You know, they can do like 7 gates or 8 gates or even Immortal Century all-ins if they want to. And then the Zerg is just in a spot where he's trying to play catch-up. He's droning as hard as he can, as fast as he can, not supply blocking, trying his best to, you know, play perfectly. And then the timing comes and kills you because you did that all-in, it failed, you're so far behind. And so, but that wasn't the case. Williker played well. He did a well-executed Bane bust and got lucky enough to catch bad building positioning. So now the series is actually in favor of IGE, 4-3. We're going to be sending forward Sauron, which is actually a Zerg player. And you know, we're actually going to see a ZVZ. Now this is actually something I'm pretty knowledgeable about, unlike my TVT. Luckily we haven't had to fill a TVT for a little while, for an extended duration. Okay, situating colors here. Red, blue, green.
Dennis,
Yeah.
for the game, please put up some more production tabs. I guess that's a call out they asked for.
Okay. Thought I had it up that whole game. Alright. Sauron is Team Evo's last hope. You know, I mean, enough said. Enough said. ZVZ, WCS, Daybreak. Last hope for Team Evo. Maybe Williker can go and take the gold for Team IGE, making the series in favor of them. If he does manage to take the victory, it would be 5-3. But, you know, hopefully we can at least put up a fight. Sauron, maybe even, you know, take the last 2 games. We'll just have to wait and see how solid both of these players, ZVZ, is. And if there's any sort of cheese to take the gold or cheese to defend the gold. What's your thoughts on ZVZ
From what
on
I
this map?
know of, usually I just see a lot of speedlings back and forth poking at each other. But usually it depends on whoever gets their speed up first. If they could get their speed quick enough, they could just go up the ramp, snipe a whole mess of drones, and then just back behind that with a baneling's nest, and just try to hit those banelings on the rest of the drones. And basically, if that happens, it's pretty much going to be a really fast game.
Right. Yeah. Generally, responses to speedling builds, you know, can either make or break, because there's some speedling builds that are based around forcing more lings out of your opponent than you've made, and then you macro up behind. And you know, just speedlings in general can just make that is pretty much what makes the matchup so hectic, is because you're using these units that if you miss micro them, they'll die to Banes in like a second. But if you're good at microing them, you can just get so much, you know, efficiency out of them, and it's like being that they're so fast, you could just get so much, you could just be all over the place, forcing APM. So generally, if you're a faster player than your opponent, you can actually get away with doing things than you normally would against a slower opponent. So
Looks like we have a 15 hatch coming down for Sauron, which might be a bit risky because Williker is going for a 15 pool, 14 gas, so he's gonna have speeds way faster than Sauron. So he's got to be able to scout this out and make some sort of retaliation with either more lings or start a baneling's nest really soon.
And Williker dropping down that standard timing for that speedling expand. So Sauron doing a very eco-heavy 15 hatch and getting his basic gas timing at around 17. So a very macro-oriented build. Now, generally, when fighting sort of speedling styles such as Williker's over here, it's all going to come down to ramp control. Is he going to be able to keep those speedlings out of the base? Is creep going to finish in time to seal off the ramp? And you know, it's all going to come down to that, because that's where his defense is going to be. It's going to be mounted at the natural, and depending on how well they control is pretty much going to probably decide the course of this game.
Exactly, but he does have 2 queens coming up, so if he does get those queens to block off that ramp and get a spine crawler coming down, he could hold off his speedling timing and may as well just be really ahead, since he does have that 15 hatch out earlier before Williker has his hatch.
Now, right now, the harvesters are a little even, but these queens are going to be popping sooner for Sauron, which should allow him to take a slight eco advantage, and that's primarily where the advantage comes from, is that earlier queen and the earlier 4 larvae that's going to be produced over the speedling. And also the gas was taken slightly earlier, so more mineral mining went down for Ballo, and this kind of solidifies the reasons why 15 hatches are more economic in terms of against a 15 pool, especially a speedling expand, is because those larvae, as you can see, there's no inject on the second hatch for Williker, just now going down, and you know, Ballo already working on his second inject from his natural. Basic defenses being mounted here from from Sauron. His Baneling Nest on the way. No Baneling Nest from Williker, so he opened up Speedling, but he's not being aggressive.
He has been actually floating a lot of gas, so I'm guessing he's probably gonna go for probably quick roach timing or so, or possibly Mutalisk, but he's been mining off of that gas for a long time, and he's not even using it yet, so he's gonna be in a bit disadvantaged as of now, since he does have Banelings and a lot of Lings coming out with that Spinecrawler.
You know what? You're absolutely right. But, you know, the thing about opening up Speedling is you don't generally do it defensively. And, you know, here is why. Balo's going in, he's getting his scouting info, and there we go. We finally have some links. But then again, we still have no Baneling Nest. We have no Evo Chamber, and we don't really have, you know, anything that can really threaten Balo. Balo has a Bane out. He did see all those leagues leave the base, so it is a Zergling all in. That is a lot of larva donated to you know, Zerglings, and it's going to come down to Bane control here. He has less links. He really needs to control this one Bane as best as he can, and it's not going to make contact just yet. Still need to control that Bane, but the Lings, though, he may be just matching the Ling count. He's going to get into the main and maybe get this Queen, but a layer is done for Sauron. We need to see the tech, and these Zerglings are going to get cleaned up by Sauron, and they're going to do next to no damage. No Harvesters killed from either side.
Pretty well.
Yeah.
I think that Williker might be going for a Mutaplay, since he is taking Lair and all 4 Extractors right away. But it seems like Sauron actually does have his Spire started out way earlier. And it basically is going to become a Ling Mutaplay going back and forth in this game. And he makes a super huge Evo wall, 4 Evo Chambers and 2 Spinecrawlers at his natural.
And that's actually really good play, because, you know, he hasn't really had a choice, but he doesn't have the defenses because he's trying to recuperate, you know, from those Ling losses. Him losing those Lings like that, oh, and his Lings are going to get in the base. But with that early investment into Lings and how inefficient they were put him really, really far behind, 37 to 42, but Balo has a huge tech advantage, and he's been mining off of his gas for a while. And there's the GG from Williker. That you know, that's pretty much that there. If he makes these Lings, he's not going to make drones. Balo's free to make drones, and it's slippery slope from here on out. Now Williker did announce the GG. And he's going to try and hold this off and maybe do a counterattack. But, you know, once again,
I can't really say offensive GG.
No, I guess he thought he was dead, and then he realizes he's not. But, you know, Balo did exactly, or Sauron rather, did exactly what he needed to. He took a third, and he has Lings at home. He should be able to defend this if he responds.
We do see 6 Mutas being made, and he does throw down a macro hatch, so he's gonna have a lot. He's gonna be way ahead in econ right now, and gonna have a lot of larvas to just pop out units against these Lings. The blue Zerg Williker is just like floating so much minerals, but he's not using it wisely on anything. Like, it's just sitting there, not even taking a third.
Right, and the tech advantage for Sauron is going to come into play. Banelings on the way, Zerglings on the way, no Spore colonies up to defend against any Mutas, no number of Queens, so I just have to give the edge to Balo here. There's nothing that could really shoot up except for 2 Queens, and we do have Mutas on the field. And recognized by Williker, a GG goes down, and Balo evens up the series 4-4. Now, primarily, I think a lot of that came down to that early gas opening, the Speedling opening that wasn't really capitalized on. And, you know, I feel like that was enough to give Balo an advantage, and later on capitalized on that advantage, and ended up taking an eco lead from the start, and a tech lead in the mid-game. So that just kind of goes to show how important opening builds really are.
Exactly, and he did still leave those 3 drones on the gas for way too long without going any gas-heavy units either. So that could have brought him down in econ really big.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a game. Last match, man.
Yep. Now we're at game point here. Sauron, all the hope is left in him, so we'll see if he can take the gold. In the meantime, IGE is sending out their final player as well. Just trying to get some things squared away here.
Looks like we're gonna have a ZVP coming on.
Okay, now. Now ZVP, Sauron showed pretty good ZVZ. He expanded when he was supposed to, and you know, he teched up when he felt safe, and he was actually able to match a lot of the early pressure. Now, I can't say too much about his ZVP. I haven't seen him play ZVP too often. But if it's like, you know, General most Zerg ZVP, if it's a macro oriented, I imagine it's going to be quick 5 base, kind of like playing mech against a Terran. Or if it's very aggressive, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be like roach drops or something of that sort. But, you know, it's primarily it's going to come down to whether Con6 decides he's going to 2-base all in, and what kind of 2-base all in it is, or if he's going to be like Stargate play into quick 3rd, or Blink Stalker into 3rd. Which I don't think Blink Stalker.
I think this match will all come down. I think this match will come down to whoever, if the Zerg player actually gets good scouts to see what this Protoss is going for. That way he could just counter it, or, you know, see if he's gonna have to macro up.
You're absolutely right. WCS Cloud Kingdom is going to be our final battleground. IGE Team Evo 4-4. Sauron, the last hope for Team Evo, and I could say the same for Con6. We'll call him Death, and Death is going to be our blue Protoss spawning in the top right, and Sauron, the red Zerg, once again spawning in the bottom left. And you know, yeah, as you said, it's going to be about the scout, where the early overlords are going to be placed, and how well the Zerg player responds. Because everybody knows that in ZVP, Protoss pretty much dictates the entire matchup. And, you know, they dictate when a Zerg is going to expand, and they pretty much let you know, when you're safe and when you're not safe. And I feel like
exactly, and I think we're gonna see a Forge fast expand coming down, since he does drop that pylon at his natural, and it seems like our Zerg's just macroing up as usual. Nothing fishy.
Yep, we're past the point of 10 pull or anything of that sort of cheesy nature. And as you mentioned, that pylon is a telltale sign of Forge Fast Expand. Or it could be a gateway expand, but generally I see those take place up in the base. We'll just have to see. Gateway expands are slightly more deadly against very macro-oriented Zergs. Sauron opting for that 15 hatch to kind of make himself feel safe against any sort of cheeses. But this is the WCS map, so pylon blocks aren't really plausible here. But that still doesn't rule out cannon rushes. Still nothing yet from this Protoss player. He may be going for Nexus first at 17, which would be very interesting. Unbeknownst to Ballo, still not even, doesn't have scouting info just yet. The Overlord didn't quite get there, so he still feels like a cannon rush is viable for the Protoss. Nice control on those drones there to actually surround that probe. We do have a forge and a gateway on the way, and I expect to see Burr cannon right after that forge. Still no gases just yet. Now this is around where the Protoss wants to get his first and second gas, and third and fourth gas timings will generally tell you, what kind of build it is, whether it's going to be air or some sort of blink stalker. But it looks like he's delaying him just a little bit more, in favor of maybe an earlier Nexus and a Zealot. And a proper response from our Zerg player over here, going and opt to take that third around 4 minutes to 4.5 minutes. Very standard. And Chrono Boosted Zealot for extra defense. And I'm going to call it, Sly. I'm going to call it. I saw this once before and I caught it perfectly this time. 1 gas, 7 gate all in. It's gotta be.
You mean that build they did on me?
Yeah, that. Oh yeah, it was you. What? 7 gas all in. 7 gate rather. Oh, never mind. There goes the second gas. So slightly unorthodox here. Now this is interesting. Now we see Ballo pulling up his, spending some larva on Zerglings, but in the meantime that definitely hinders him when it comes to the economy. But we don't see any sort of baneling nest or anything like that, so I'm wondering what he's going to be going for. Yeah, I don't see him getting much done, but there is no sentry, so he may just sort of try and bust his way through here and kill the Zealot maybe. The Zealot, being in that choke, he's going to be so powerful. This cannon getting so many kills, 6 kills, soon to be 7 kills, and mass slow Zerglings on the way. He's going to break down this whole wall. More pylons and cannons being placed, and that's about as proper a response as you can get. But these Zerglings being microed a little bit. These Zealots getting so many kills as well. 8 kills for that one Zealot, and 18 kills for this cannon. Supply blocked for the Protoss, and he's trying his best to chrono out some Zealots. Probe's sitting here to block the way, and once again, a few more Zerglings coming in here to try and do a little more eco damage. More Zerglings being rallied, but these 2 cannons are up, and I would say, Sly, that Death is in a pretty good position from here on out.
Exactly, but it did kind of slow him down, but Sauron did produce so many lings that he couldn't even get his natural saturated, he doesn't even have gas up, but he does have a third base, which is, he's just pumping out pumping out drones right now, so he's just going to be macroing up from here on out.
He's going to try and recover from this, but he is, I feel like he's at a tech disadvantage. He doesn't have his gases, and he can't really take his gases because he needs to try and recover from this as much as he can. And in the meantime, we have Warp Gate that's going to be done in about a minute, and if any sort of pressure comes along, I don't feel like Sauron is going to have the force to actually deal with it. So, I mean, the Protoss is in a comfortable position, but then again, if the Protoss doesn't do what he's supposed to and capitalize on it properly, he might accidentally let the Zerg back into the game.
So we do see Roach Warren coming out fairly early for Sauron after that massive, not really cost-effective attack. So I think he's just going to try to either do a 3-base all-in with Roaches and then defend off of it, because he is throwing down 2 Spine Crawlers at his 3rd. So I think he's just going to be playing a bit aggressive while trying to play a bit passive at the same time. I don't know how that's going to work.
Right, and now if we sort of look at it, you know, the Zerg went up 48 Harvesters to 39, but Def actually supply blocked himself for a little bit, allowing a few more drones to pop and to kind of like extend maybe a slight lead for Sauron over here. And now, you know, Warp Gate is finished, but there's no infrastructures to secure any sort of army or attack or anything of that sort. And but we do have Immortals on the way for Def, and this is, you know, telltale sign of something else. You know, we have sentries here just kind of building up armies, additional gateways being made, and we have an observer over the 3rd base, so generally it looks like it's going to be pretty standard from here on out, even though the economies are slightly different from what they should be at this point of the game. And I don't know how Def is getting out of his base, Sly.
He's probably going to have to break down one of his gateways.
And 2 cannons and a pylon.
Yes. Could just Warp Prism, drop him out.
Ferry him across.
It does look like he's taking another gas, even though he is already floating so many gases. And he is going for that 2nd Robo and a Twilight Council, so he's gonna probably go for some heavy Blink Stalkers or maybe some DTs.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Another Robo, so double Robo, more sentries on the way. Now this is definitely, you know, he's gonna be following this up with some sort of tech, whether it's Charge or Blink or maybe later Archons, but you know, it doesn't seem like he's going to transition into Colossus play, which is kind of anti-meta. Sauron rather, keeping an eye on the 3rd and looking for any sort of hidden expansion from the Nexus. And there goes Def, breaking his way out, breaking down that gateway. Gonna have to break down that pylon as well. And you know, he kind of needs to expand. The more he sits sort of in his base, the farther he kind of falls behind. Because, you know, just like in ZVT, you can't let a Zerg just sit and chill, because they will take an eco advantage if they don't have to make units. And now I actually like this play. Ballo, he has a very small force. He is reinforcing as we speak. But against 4 Immortals and only a handful of Zerglings, he's going to try and catch the Immortal Sentry force out in the field, which is what you're supposed to do. But yeah, he's actually kind of pulling back. But he's going to try and... He has to catch it out in the field, but at this point in time, I don't feel like he can do too much damage. I feel like the Protoss has a much more menacing force right now, especially with force fields.
But he does have a layer out with a macro hatch and a 4th base coming out, so he's gonna be way ahead in econ, even though he was already behind due to that mass Ling attack in the beginning. So it's all based on whoever can micro these attack if they do engage each other. But I think Ballo's gonna actually, or Sauron is gonna actually try to max out before he engages against 128 supply for this Protoss army.
And the supplies are actually beginning to look... the supplies are actually beginning to look so lopsided when it comes, you know, 187 to 142, and that's actually pretty normal for Zerg because, you know, they just tend to have more harvesters and things of that nature. But, you know, when force field comes into play, it's going to chop it in half, and it's going to basically come down to force field positioning. And this is definitely an all-in. The Protoss has not taken a third. He hasn't attempted to take a third, and he is kind of bringing in Dark Templars as well. And positioning is going to come into a factor here. Sauron is moving around to get a flank. Nice flank coming in, and once again, these force fields cutting the army in half. But these roaches, a lot of them can't get into position. Spine crawlers poking away as much as they can. Force fields still continuing to go down, keeping the army out. And it looks like Balo is going to actually clean, or Sauron rather, is going to clean this up. Hydra's coming in, shooting over the force fields. The superior positioning of the Zerg looks like it's actually began to turn tides. I thought the Zerg was actually going to clean that up, but he will go on to lose the fourth. The supplies actually going to even out. Still slightly in favor of the Zerg, but I don't know. It's going to come down to reinforcements and a second engagement. But the reinforcement point proves a little too close for the Protoss, and it may just be enough to clean it up. There are no Colossus, so these Hydras are actually going to be pretty decent against this Gateway force. Now, if we look at the production tab, +1 melee on the way as well for the Zerglings. You don't see that too much, but it is going to work just fine, especially with no Colossus. And, oh, we have DTs on the field. They may do... Actually, they're not going to do any damage because there is an Overseer as well. And that's very good play from Balo.
I think he's going to...
Sauron.
He's going to clean this up. I think it's... If he actually holds this off and pushes against this Protoss army, I think he's pretty much going to be winning, because then he doesn't even have a third prepared to be made.
And there is the GG from Def. Balo is, or Sauron, name changes, is going to go on to take the series for Team Evo in Team Evolution's third clan war against IGE. Very good game from all players. It actually went really well. Oh man, what are your thoughts on that clan war? We saw a number of ZVZs, a lot of TVZs, and definitely that was actually our last ZVP, or our only ZVP of that match, I believe.
Of play.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, very close game, coming back and forth, pushing, getting wins. A lot of all-ins I'm amazed by in this ZVP in clan war.
A very close series. It was 4-5, just barely in favor of Team Evo. And you know, I think that's all we got, folks. I appreciate you guys tuning into the stream. Thank you, Team IGE, for allowing us to compete against you in a friendly clan war. Hopefully we can do it again in the future. Once again, this was a solid diamond. Any shout outs? Follow the team Twitter at Team Evo 2013. Follow my Twitch here for further clan wars and HOTS ladder every now and then from a Wings of Liberty master player. Sly, you got any shout outs?
Not really.
What about your Twitch? What's your Twitch page?
twitch.tv/Slifico. Come watch me if I ever do stream, and you'll just, you know, pretty much see me playing casually on ladder.
Awesome, awesome. Alright, and thank you, Sly, for co-casting this with me today, and hopefully we can do it some more later on.
You for letting me co-cast with you.
Alright guys, thanks for watching. GG.